Happy Monday. Let's talk about getting things done. A while back, I listened to that book by David Allen. It's really good, by the way. But getting things done has done a lot of good things, cleaning up my head, getting things decluttered so that I can actually get things done. Ha ha ha. What happens is your brain gets stuck in the thought processes. And the description that Dr. Allen uses is it's like running too much stuff on your computer, taking too much RAM, taking too much processing power out of your day-to-day activities. So the more crap you've got open in your head, the less effective the activities in your head are going to be. Basically, the getting things done system is a systematic decision. You either do it immediately if it's under like 3 to 5 minutes, or you turn around and you put it on a list of stuff that you need to get done and put on your calendar. Because your brain can't tell the difference between future, past, and present. Timing doesn't really connect with your brain the same way that negation doesn't connect with your brain. As far as negation not connecting with your brain, if you say, do not think about a three-legged dog, what's the first thing that pops in your head? Is a three-legged dog. The brain, according to Dr. Allen, has a bunch of processes running, and each thought that nags you gets in the way of everything else. And the times when I am the most effective with everything that I do is when I have that list sitting next to me. And it does really good to get those pieces and parts taken care of, because now I'm not worried about that page that I have to build, or that WooCommerce thing I have to figure out, or all the rest of the 80% of tasks that make up 20% of the revenue kind of thing. That the list allows me to organize those pieces and parts so I can blast through them quickly. It allows a quick hit, a quick organization. I can bundle those tasks, sit down and do them, and check off whole tranches of that list. And the book was a fast read. I think it was like 7 hours or something like that to listen to Dr. Allen. If you're of a mind, I'll make a post and I'll link at the bottom for the book. But the book itself goes into a bunch more advanced techniques than I use. He goes into calendaring and email and call and all kinds of other management systems that you can put into place. He's got a much more advanced system than I use, but I reached my level of diminishing marginal returns, meaning that I took his system as far as I needed to take his system in order for me to see results that weren't outweighed by the amount of time that I was putting into managing the systems. And for me, that was writing things down en masse that I had to get done. And it's as soon as I get those, I think the term he used in his book was like, thoughts are like spaghetti noodles in your head, and as you're pulling the spaghetti noodles out, it clears up a lot more space than you realize, because there's a lot more coordinated and supporting tasks associated with them. So when you get them out of your head, suddenly it's like you're clean. The task may not feel like a lot when you list it in your head, but as soon as you get it out, you realize just how much of your memory and brain processing power has been taken up. Once I started doing that and making the lists of stuff, those 80% tasks started getting knocked out a heck of a lot faster, and my brain cleaned up. When my brain is cleaned up, it allows a lot greater creativity and flexibility with things, and it happens fast. It's not like it's a multi-day process. It's like the next hour, my brain starts working better. I have 3 pads of paper that are sitting next to my mouse pad. It's like keyboard, mouse pad. Then next over is the pads with pens, and they keep getting filled up. And periodically, I'll go through on day, like on a non-creative day. Like I'll block off my days. Alex Hormozi's got a great video about creative days versus manager days. The manager days, I'll do things like my PPC management. I'll send out my emails and I'll check that kind of stuff. And then the creative days, I'll block off large swaths of time to sit down and do an 8-hour-long writing block. And you really can't do that unless your brain is clean and you've got all those irritating tasks of your head. Dr. Allen's book, Getting Things Done, has been a huge help cleaning out my brain and getting me into the relaxed, creative flow state. It happens much faster because I don't have things that are like, oh yeah, I gotta go like clean my shoes or whatever. Those stupid little things that normally pop up, when I write them down effectively, all that stuff gets out of my head. And I know that I'm gonna do it based on a list. It's a tactile list. If I write it on a computer, it doesn't help. Like I can't make like a Google task note. It has to be a tactile for me. As soon as I physically pick up a pen and start writing this stuff down, it's vastly more effective than using a digital calendar. So what I start doing is, if I'm calendaring those events, I'll block off time on the calendar for get things done time, basically. So I'll write down, say I've got a substantial web page I need to build out for the book and content writing stuff. And there's a lot of pieces and parts to it, things I got to learn and things I have to study. What I'll do is I'll break that out into the different pieces and parts. And this is what I'll need to learn. So basically the preparation, or this is what I need to learn. This is the stuff I'm gonna need. This is how much time I estimate it's gonna take. And then I block that out. If I figure that I need to get this WooCommerce plugin put in place for whatever, I figure that I'm gonna need an hour and a half watching videos to learn how to do it, to find the right one, the right combination. And then I'll take an hour and some change to actually put this thing into place. And then I'll turn around and I'll grab some testing time. So I might allocate like a 5-hour block on my calendar to do those tasks. And that's the extent of the digital calendaring that I'll do. I won't get into the individual tasks that I've got on the paper. The paper is the details, and then I translate those detail segments into the allocated times in the calendar, and then allocated times in the calendar block off into kind of like the managerial time. And then the creative process time is free and clear. When I'm doing Alex Hormozi's creative time, I can block off that 8-hour segment without fear, without doubt that all the rest of those pieces and parts are there. And because I outline things out in advance, I can sit down and I can have a day where I produce 4,000, 6,000, 7,000, 15,000 words. And the higher word count days leave your brain feeling kind of squishy, but it's possible to get them because there's nothing else getting in the way. And if I've given the example before, but every hour that you talk effectively in a conversation, every hour that you're having that conversation is approximately like 9,000 to 11,000 words, depending how fast people talk. And obviously you can have less than that if people are staring at each other in the conversation. But for me, a standard conversation, a standard back and forth conversation, it's about 10,000 words an hour. I think the last book that I did was the sales book with Regina, the real estate, Sell Your Home with Regina Pope. And that was an hour and 5-minute interview turned into 10,048 words. So it's almost exactly 10,000 words per hour. Call it 9,000 if you want to be cautious. But basically, if you can talk for 2 hours about your story, you should be logging 15 to 18,000 words. And talking consecutively about your story is tough, especially when you're crafting dialogue. You got to go between two people in your head. So with me, it typically takes twice as long to create both sides of the dialogue in my head because it has to sound right. I have to switch between the characters each time. What's this character thinking? What's that character thinking? And I have to keep the conversations parallel to how someone would behave, just for my OCD approach to realism. Getting things done really helped me out by cleaning up my head. And it sounds goofy, but all those extraneous thoughts in your head cloud out your creativity. It clouds out your processes that allow you to create your books, that allow you to create your businesses. The getting things done was probably the greatest productivity book that I've ever come across. Not a productivity book, I don't mean like a physical skill book. Russell Brunson and Alex Hormozi have put out some fantastic books about specific tasks, specific ways of doing things, specific skill sets. I mean like a productivity book where you actually, like, this is how you improve on your time. The Getting Things Done is probably the best book I've ever encountered on the subject. It's produced the most results with the lowest amount of effort. And if you've done another book reference, if you've ever done that 4-hour work week thing, the 4-hour work week is basically using leverage. So you use the most effective pieces and parts as frequently as possible to run your business, to run your life. Now, I'm going to disagree with Mr. Ferris and say if you were 4-hour work week effective, work your 40-hour work week and have that much more effective life. Because if you're running at what you need in order to survive on a 4-hour work week, when the world changes, as it inevitably does, you're not going to have the pieces and parts in place. You may not have the money available to make that jump. And that's a security thing for me. So regardless of how efficient I am, I'm not going to stop at 4 hours ever. Sorry, Mr. Ferris. But the Getting Things Done is probably the most effective I have ever read, listened to about personal improvement. So it's done wonderful things for boosting my creativity, cleaning up projects, getting these projects organized and effectively implemented. Just the process of writing it down and seeing it, you can, instead of trying to pull all that crap together in my head, I just look over at the list and I write down the list about all the pieces and parts that need to get done. And I've done that stuff for years. I stopped doing it for a while, and as soon as I stopped doing the effective list making, my life turned to, it just went. So it's a much better idea to write those pieces and parts down. It'll help you. So if you want to get things done, getting things done helps.